Hey, take two. I tried this earlier, so if you saw earlier's video, I apologize. I was trying, but the internet connection was not going to stick with me, so I was a quitter. Welcome to Tuesday Tales, later than expected, but coming through for you anyways. So, we've talked a lot about connection, creating connection with your horse, about muscle testing and creating that energetic connection so that you can get practical information from your horse, like information that helps us, right? And a lot of this can be done with reading body language for sure, which is definitely a skill to hone and something that I do try to educate my clients about, as well as students. When we're talking about massage, like it's so important to be able to assess whether a horse is telling you, F you, that's horrific, I don't like it, or if they're reacting to something else entirely. And this is definitely a skill set I've built up, because this is not like, it's one thing to be able to create this connection with your own personal horse and be able to get that practical information from them. But it's something else entirely to be able to meet a new horse and do the same thing, right? It's a skill set that's grown. And that all starts with learning on your one horse. And if you're a practitioner and you don't have your own horse, then you get to start honing the skills with other people's horses. But I know that a lot of you in here are horse owners who have struggled with problems with their horses, whether it has presented as behavioral or a lameness. You know, that might vary, but oftentimes the behavioral issues are linked back to pain in the body and also poor communication from us as humans. So how can we create a situation that supports the horse and us so that we can get that practical information and also be more observant, better people for our horses, right? And a lot of that is using skills, using a variety of skills, right? Like I said, we've talked about muscle testing. We've also talked about, maybe not so much, maybe that's next week's Tuesday Tales, emotional regulation, because when we are more familiar with how we are feeling internally, it becomes easier to identify how other beings are also feeling. And sometimes when we're getting practical information from our horses, that's actually coming through as feelings, right? You might not get a stream of consciousness where your horse is like, listen, I'd really rather have these cookies and my left front foot hurts. Sometimes it's an emotion of distress, an emotion of sadness, an emotion of feeling unloved or unwanted or unworthy. We can pick up on the emotion and not necessarily have words that are coming through, but it's still communication nonetheless. And then we get to interpret that depending on the being that sends the message, right? Each individual speaks their own language. And what I mean by that is that even though we are all here, and I assume we're all here able to understand English, because that's what I talk in all the time, was what I write in all the time. But English has its nuance, right? Like there's a reason why when you send a text message, the person on the other end is going to interpret that message, and they could take it as completely wrong from what you meant, or they could totally get it because they know you and they know how you speak and they know how your language patterns, right? But text messages can be really hard to interpret if you don't know the person well that you are corresponding with, right? Same for email. Anything where we don't have tone and inflection, because tone and inflection are just more information that we can consider into interpreting the message, right? So even though we all speak the same language, we use different phrases, we use different tones, different inflections, different body language. We either speak with our hands or we don't. We raise our eyebrows. There's so much going on that we can take in. And we got to do the same thing with our horses, right? Now, we might not all be speaking English, our horses and us, but we understand body language. And the more you get to know a particular horse, the easier it becomes to translate what they're communicating through their body language or through their energy, through the emotional vibe that you pick up from them, through maybe images that pop in your head. The easier it becomes to translate all of those things into something that you can understand and use practically. And all of that starts with one very simple thing that often gets overlooked. And I guarantee you, it's the number one reason all of you are struggling in this area of creating connection with your horse. And that is belief. Belief that it is possible. Belief that it is possible for anyone to create a connection of communication from themselves to an animal. Belief that it is also possible for you to be one of those people that creates a connection of communication between yourself and an animal. To believe that you are capable of interpreting the message. To believe that you could possibly have a gift. And to start, the belief then also comes from starting to acknowledge that not only is it possible, but it is already something that you're seeing and having happen in your life. And the easiest way that I suggest people go through this is, one, emotional regulation for yourself. I mean, it's going to serve you in so many places, but getting to know your own emotions makes it easier to read everyone else's, which is just more information to help you interpret the message. And two, to just simply acknowledge when things are happening, right? Like you're going to go through your muscle testing, you're using your muscle testing, and you really hone that. You get used to your yeses and your nos. And maybe you determine what yes feels like as a sensation in your body. And you take that information and you apply that. And so you muscle test or something. So one of my favorite things is using the emotion code. When I muscle test for things and then I say this happened around, or this emotion became trapped around this time, maybe around age 3 or age 6. And the person goes, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because this horse is going through this at age 3 or age 6. Or this person, yes, I did go through this. Or if it's for a child, the parent to be able to say, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense because you know what? She was in the hospital at this age. Or we had a family member in the hospital and we were at the hospital a lot. And so, yeah, she has this negative emotion. That makes sense. That's my favorite thing because it bolsters my belief because I'm seeing it work in real time. So for you guys to practice your muscle testing and getting to the point where you are using it in a situation where someone else can back up what you're saying. So for example, I have done muscle testing that led me to an answer that was along the lines of, okay, well, I think we need to get a veterinarian involved and ask for this type of testing because I think this is what's going on. And then the testing comes back and I was spot on, but I didn't know. Like, I want to be very clear. Like, this is where muscle testing and intuition and all the things become super powerful if you allow them to. Because I wouldn't have known for any other reason outside of muscle testing that this horse was having a particular issue. But my gut said to muscle test this. I muscle tested it and the muscle test came back positive. So then we refer to the vet and the vet does the actual lab testing that then backs that up. At that point, it is clear that my intuition was correct, backed up by the muscle testing that was also correct. Therefore, I'm obviously getting some communication. And it doesn't have to be the horse told me that their belly hurt, right? Like, that's not it. That's not it. It can come from anywhere and it can be anything. We get to hone the skill. And that starts from acknowledging that things are happening, acknowledging that our intuition is right, giving ourselves the opportunity to say, hey, I had this gut feeling about this. I took action on that gut feeling and I did what my gut told me to do. And this is how well it worked out. It worked. My intuition was spot on, right? So the best thing you could do for that is make note of any gut feelings that you're getting and the action that you feel like you should take and the action you did take. Did you follow your gut? How did it work out? Did you not follow your gut? How did it work out? Right? When we set ourselves up and we acknowledge things like that, we allow ourselves to call in more of the same success because we are bolstering our own belief that what we're doing is working and that what we're doing is legitimate. For those of you out there who are like, I don't trust my muscle testing. Yeah, you need to give yourself an opportunity to start trusting it. And that means using it more, not putting it on a shelf and saying, I don't trust it, I'm not using it. Use it more. Use it more. Take action based on the muscle testing or don't, but make a record of what you muscle tested, what you thought you should do, or what the muscle test suggested you should do, and then what you actually did and how it worked out. Because that's how you're going to see it. That's how you're going to see that this is working, right? When we don't keep track, we do things that are silly, like saying, well, I don't trust muscle testing, so I'm not going to use it anymore. When we don't use our muscle testing anymore, we don't set ourselves up for opportunities to acknowledge that we are divinely gifted and divinely powerful beings that are tapped into so much more than what our society largely teaches us, right? It's not as black and white as science or math, right? There's a whole nother layer. Quantum physics is a new realm in my lifetime, like, I mean, not like new in my lifetime, but like it's really been delved into in the last 20 some years where it's becoming more and more prominent and people are really talking about it. And it is a science. And so much of magic has been backed up by science now. At one point, everything that is scientific was considered crazy, wackadoo magic. That being the case, anything that we can't explain now, we can just write it down as being scientific later, but we don't fully understand it. So when you have this inclination that this is a particular problem and you just say, well, there's no reason why I should know that, and you just put it on a shelf, you could have moved forward with that information and at least tracked it down and followed it to, you didn't have to follow the direction, right? You didn't have to take action on it and go do whatever your muscle test or whatever your gut said. But if you wrote it down and then you didn't take that action and then you were like, oh shit, I should have, then it teaches you that your intuition was right on. And remember that intuition is so much more than just magic. It's perception. It's the fact that your brain and your body, your senses are so much more than the 5 senses that we are taught. You have to allow yourself to open up energetically to those things in order to experience them. You will not open up to them if you do not believe in them, because then there's nothing to open up to, right? So when we think about it from that perspective, it becomes very clear that when you're taught that those things don't exist, you will never experience them. Because we have always heard like seeing is believing, but really believing is seeing. You have to believe something is true before you will see it. Because even if it is right in front of you, but you believe it doesn't exist, your brain is going to come up with all the reasons why it could be appearing in front of you, even though it doesn't exist. It's not real. You're hallucinating. You've gone crazy. This is fake. There's a hologram there. Someone projected that. Like, technology's crazy. So I'm not seeing it. It's not real. There's some other explanation for how it's appearing in front of me, right? Or you can just open yourself up to the fact that these, like the ability to just know things, the ability to feel things that you can't explain, the ability to receive communication from an animal is completely possible for you. It is totally doable. So, belief. It is the core and foundation of so much, especially when it comes to energetic work, especially when it comes to creating connections with animals and other people too, right? Like, if you didn't believe that true love was possible, you would never find your true love because you didn't believe it existed, right? In order to end up with someone that you truly deeply love and deem it as true love, you gotta believe it exists. Otherwise you wouldn't bother, right? So I know that this is an area, belief is an area, and creating the connection and getting communication. I know that all of that is an area that you guys kind of hit a stopping block with and you would like to improve on. I know that so many of you out there are wanting to deepen that trust in yourself and that trust in your muscle testing to be able to use the skill, because you see the vision of what it could be used for, but you don't trust yourself to do it. And so with that in mind, drum roll, please. With that in mind, I have created a quick 2-week little hangout session for us. It is called Equine Alchemy, Awaken Your Inner Magic. And it's going to take place over about 2 weeks. It's actually going to start in December. We're going to run from December 17th until the 31st. And you're just going to get there's going to be an hour session on the first day. It's our opening ceremonies, right? Where we're going to dig in, get some stuff done. And then you're just going to have little assignments to do over the next couple weeks. Christmas is the day off, obviously. But they're going to be short little vivid things, because the whole point is getting you to understand that you are a very magical being, first of all. And second, that you can integrate that magic and that ability into your everyday life to deepen your connection with your horse. Will you get more than just a connection with your horse out of it? Yeah, you bet you will. Because in order to have a deeper connection with your horse, you have to create a deeper connection with yourself. And the side effect of creating a deeper a relationship with yourself, a deeper connection with yourself, is absolutely creating deeper connections with other people too. So win-win-win all the way around. But yeah, there's going to be little exercises to create that connection with your horse. You can do them with you or without your horse. That's going to be totally up to you. But that's going to start on December 17th. Now, I am offering this to you guys at a Black Friday special. So this is only you can only buy it at this price until Black Friday, and then the price is going to go up for $97 for this 2 weeks. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to drop the link in the comments below. We're going to have a blast. We're going to create some deeper connections. We're going to awaken our inner magic. And you know what better time of year to create inner magic when there's so much magic out and around us, right? So I'll drop that link in the comments below. And as soon as you secure your spot, you get to start on a scavenger hunt, which you will be accumulating points for prizes. So see you there. Be there or be square. And the sooner you join, the sooner you start on your scavenger hunt, so you can take things at a little bit of a slower pace, because you're going to want to get in there and get all your points. So anyways, thank you guys so much for your patience today. I know it was a little bit cray-cray, but thank you so much, because I got to see clients, and I don't usually do that on Tuesdays. So thank you for sharing me and your Tuesdays with me with my regular clients. So, all right. Talk to you guys later.